Okay, let me get my recorder going.
Hey Josh, do you have uh any idea where Mr. Powell might be? Oh,
Should be getting on in a minute.
okay.
Is that the applicant?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's give him a minute then to get on. We'll give him a couple.
He said about 10 minutes ago he was rushing to his office. So it should be.
Okay.
Okay. So we know he's coming. That's good.
Yes.
We have any members of the public joining us today?
Um, does not look like it. No one registered online and it looks like there's no one in the council chambers except for staff.
Okay. All right. Yeah, not too
We
surprising. I no public
we do
comment.
have one member that just registered. They did not indicate that they wish to testify.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Just let me know when the applicant comes on board and we'll get started.
I did have one of Revival Architects team members who might be registering to join too. So that might also be him, just
Okay.
to listen in. So
Hey, Mr. Ulbrichts, just a quick question when it comes to for future reference. When it comes to getting materials, is the way we've been doing it, does that still work for you? Just sending the link online and having it access that way?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I say, I prefer paperless, and that's the most important thing. As long as I can easily access it, that's perfect. Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, perfect.
Like I said before, I don't need the materials until unless it's a really big record until a couple days before the hearing. But for the public, though, it's good to have it done a week in
Yep.
advance or something so they can take a look at it. But yeah, I mean, if the applicant doesn't get to us by let's say 1:05, we can just get started. They don't have to participate anyway. But
Okay.
we'll see. Hmm. Okay. Mr. Fat, were you just talking to the applicant or something, or?
Yeah, they are updating their Zoom as we speak.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're way in.
All right. We'll continue waiting then. No problem. Just let me know when they're ready to go.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Pratt, did you tell them to phone in if they couldn't figure out how to use the computer, or because that's kind of the always the default?
Yeah, I said there should be a couple options to join either
Oh, okay.
through the online public link and then raise your hand or through the panelist link. But
Hmm. Okay. Let's see. Someone did just raise their hand. Oh, looks like we just had Mr. Powell joined us. I don't know if he's part of
that's
the
what you're
app.
looking for. Yep.
Oh, good. Okay, let's get started then. All right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna restart my recording.
And then John, do you want to let Mr. Powell in here?
Yeah, I just invited him to join as a panelist. He looks like he just
Perfect.
accepted the link.
Perfect.
Okay, I think we're good to go then. Is the
All right.
recording still going on your side, Mr. Fant?
Yes, looks like it.
Okay, all right. For the record, it's October 7th, 2024, 1:12 p.m. I'm full Rex hearing examiner for City of Lacey, we have application today for planned residential development and apparently site plan consolidated as well for the addition of a building to the lodge planned residential development. This is file number, let me see if I can file that file number. What's the file number, Mr. Fan? I'm sorry, I don't see that on the staff report right away.
It should be 24-0027.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the hearing format will be, we'll start off with presentation from staff. That's Mr. Fan will give us an overview of the application. Then we'll move on to applicant. If the applicant wants to add anything, that's not required. It's just if you want to say something in support, you can go ahead and do that. Then we'll move on to public comments. And so far, it looks like we might not have any members of the public. There might be one out there. If there is anyone out there from the public, we'll explain how they can participate at that point in the hearing. Once we're done with public comments, go back to Mr. Fant to answer any questions that were raised and any rebuttal evidence he finds necessary to complete the record. Then applicant, as a matter of due process, gets final word, and I get 10 business days to issue a final decision. I didn't check on this one, Mr. Fant. Is this since it's a PRD, is it a recommendation of the city council, or is it still under the city's code of final decision?
So we believe that it's still under your decision. However, some of the language within the LMC has not been updated to reflect that.
Okay, yeah, because there is case law that provides that if it involves a density bonus, it's considered a rezone and has to be approved by the city council. So that's why I was asking. That's why you might have some kind of ambiguous language in there, because there are a couple of court opinions that are a bit old now, but they do say that PRD involving density increases are considered rezones and ultimately subject to final approval. So probably what I'll do is if the code leaves the option open to make it a council final decision, I'll make it that, just to make it consistent with that court opinions, because otherwise you kind of have a conflict between your code and what the courts say. But if it did have to go to city council, just for everyone's information, it would just involve a closed record review. They wouldn't be taking additional evidence. So if you want to get any information on record, be sure you get it in today before the hearing is closed, and all that information would be forwarded to the city council if I determine the code allows it to be forwarded to the city council. Now, by state law, I'm only allowed to consider evidence that's put into the record today, and that would consist of the testimony and exhibits admitted into the record. Page 2 of the staff report of Mr. Fant's report identifies all the documents he wants to be made part of the record that support his recommendation. I'm going to share my screen real quick as to what those documents are. There you go. You should be able to see at this point 16 exhibits, which include the land use application, site plan review application, the planned residential development application, and the plans, landscaping plans, building plans and elevations, the environmental review, the notices, traffic report, stormwater report, forestry report, open space plan, a site narrative, and a site plan review approval for phase 1 of the project, as well as public comments. At this point, I just want to ask if anyone needs to see any of these documents or has any objection to their entry in the record. If you do, just hit the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen or unmute yourself and say, I object, or I need to see a document. Okay, not hearing or seeing any takers. Not too surprising. I'll admit exhibits 1 through 16. And Mr. Fan, I'll swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I swear.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I will dive into it here. I'll just do a brief overview following the staff report itself and its format. So a quick description of the proposal. The project is essentially a 2-phase project with a phase 1 being the initial site plan review approval of 78 unit multifamily apartments. This was approved on 5/24/23 through the full administrative site plan review process. Associated with that approval was most of the site improvements, site circulation, public works and infrastructure upgrades to the site to make it feasible for multifamily. And as part of the second phase, which is the primary topic for today and through the staff report, and that's going to be phase 2, which is the addition of 1 more building, increasing the multifamily structures from 3 to 4. And that's going to be an addition of 16 units to the site. This addition is going through the planned residential development process, which allows for an increase in density to a site, subject to meeting some of the city's criteria, or subject to meeting the criteria of the city within the PRD section of our code. The site itself is a 5-acre parcel. It's a single parcel, and it can be found in Figure 2 of the staff report, showing an aerial of the site prior to development. It was a primarily treed parcel, and it's located within the moderate density zone. The moderate density zone does allow for multifamily up to 16 units per acre. So traditionally, the site would be allowed to have 80 units, but with a 20% increase, I believe that ups it to 96. The proposal for the addition of the 16 units brings the site up to 94 units as the proposal. I could share my screen here, actually make a little bit more context when I'm bringing up. Let's see. There we go. Okay. And then is this popping up for everyone?
Yes. Mhm.
Perfect. Okay, so this is the site in question here. And all of the materials I'm going over, this is just the staff report itself, so nothing new here. For land use context, the zoning in the surrounding areas is going to be mixed use, high density corridor to the north, and then open space institutional to the south here. I believe this is a tree tract that was associated with the single family residential to the south. And all of this is zoned as low density residential. And then this triangle here is also open space institutional. And this graph lays that out, or this table. With regards to public comment, no comment from the public was received with regards to this project. However, there were internal agency comments associated with the project for the 16 unit addition. In the initial routing of the phase 1, this was routed along with a SEPA notice, and SEPA did receive comments from some external agencies, that being the State Department of Ecology, Squaw Indian Tribe, Intercity Transit, and the Olympic Regional Clean Air Agency. Their comments were not there was no request from those comments, which would have pushed it into a mitigated determination of non-significance. And so a DNS was issued, determination of non-significance, using the optional process or optional notice process. Inside that routing for the SEPA routing, it was mentioned initially as a 2-stage project, so it was reviewed in its entirety, not just one phase or the other. Some primary elements to consider with the site beyond environmental review would be adequacy of infrastructure and public services. As originally conditioned through the phase 1 part of the development, water and sewer have been brought to site at a multifamily capacity. And any comments from staff regarding this project primarily reflected those original conditions. And so in Exhibit 16A, it's noted from our Public Works Development team that no additional conditions are required beyond the original conditions of the SPR. Some fire comments were provided, and that could be found in Exhibit 16C. And again, most of the site requirements were addressed in phase 1 development. Same goes with drainage, with streets and traffic. No TIA was necessary. Traffic mitigation fees are required. And then no frontage improvements were required for the site as they were already completed, and that can be found in Exhibit 15. One of the main components of a PRD is that a site must have a 30% allocation of open space. This site does does appear through the materials to meet that. The open space plan can be found for Exhibit 13. Let's see. Just based on staff analysis here, for section 6, the main concerns, again, the main concerns were the open space that are applied to the project, so that a bonus density can be acquired by the applicant through the PRD process. There we go. Project parcel contains 30% open space required by the PRD. Half of the required open space is to be met by the preservation of tall stands of trees and a bioretention pond. There will be walking paths and landscaping totaling half of that at 32,700 square feet. And then the other half is semi and private open spaces, which take up the other half. And I believe that is the primary components for staff analysis for presentation. Is there anything you'd like me to touch up on, Mr. Olbricks?
Let's see here. Yeah, I just wanted to go over the density bonus criteria in a little more detail, just to make sure that I can, write up the findings for that. I'll share my screen on it, on the criteria, so we can go over it. Let's see. Is it this one? Okay, so 166145, is that showing up right now?
Yes.
Okay, so in terms, I just want to go over these real quick. I saw you did a quick summary in there. I just want to make sure I understand all the elements. So in terms of the significant recreational area, that's just the pathway systems. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then for B, substantial retention, I was a little confused on that because he said it had been cleared of all trees, right? So has the area that's going to be retained for open space, has that been left uncleared, and are there still trees left there, or is it
yes,
just
yes. So the site has not been cleared of all trees. There is, and I believe you can find it in the landscaping plan and in the open space plan, areas that have been designated to not be cleared.
Oh, that's part of the open space area. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Then the vegetated LID facilities, what are those? The low impact development facilities. What specifically is that for this project?
So that would be the bioretention pond on the north.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay. And I take it D doesn't apply, right? That's the one that they didn't meet.
Yeah. Since there's can't create one of those with ease.
And the landscaping, is that more landscaping than required by the code?
Yes, and that kind of again falls into some of that retained tree tract for the site. And so I believe in my analysis, it goes over that they are over twice the traditional requirement for the tree tract.
Oh, okay. And is that actual, like they're putting in plants, or is that just retaining what's already there?
Yeah, so as part of the landscaping plan, that gets kind of the fine comb review before building permit application. But essentially for the tree tract, it will be required to be the natural vegetation in the retained trees that are there. And we have a forester review it. And then anywhere where it doesn't meet that tree tract standard, it has infill for vegetated. For natural or for natural vegetation infill.
Oh, okay. And does the city have standards for what that infill is supposed to be, or how's that regulated?
Yeah, that's going to be in, I believe it's our landscape standards. I can pull up that section of code one moment here. So that's going to be 1432, which is tree and vegetation protection. And then chapter 1680, landscaping requirements.
Okay. And then for the site plan review, just to make sure I'm clear, has that been consolidated with the PRD review? Is that part of what I'm addressing?
That's going to be, so we included the site plan review, and that's essentially just site plan review to do with building C.
Right. Okay.
The rest of the site has already been prior approved through a SPR.
Okay. So this hearing is for both the PRD and the site plan for that phase 2 building C.
Yeah, just the building
Okay,
C
yeah,
area,
just want
correct.
to make that clear for the record. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks, Mr. Fan. All right, let's move on to applicant comments. Like I said, don't have to say anything at this point, but if you do, now is your opportunity. You'll also get a final word to respond to any comments made after what you say today. And just like I say, if you want to say something, just click on the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen. I'm not seeing any takers, and that's just fine. Oh, looks like we do have somebody now, Mr. Powell. Okay, we'll let you in, Mr. Powell. Let me swear you in real quick. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Well, I think we've got a nice project here. It's, if you will, we had the opportunity because of the density bonus to go an extra 2 units. We chose not to. We have 16 units as opposed to 18, which would have been the maximum allowed. There's a couple of different reasons we didn't do that. A, we are trying to give a very, if you will, woodsy and natural environment for an apartment community, which is kind of rare. We have a stand of trees that have been there. Some of these trees are probably 30, 40, 50 years old, maybe even more. And that stand is in the southeast corner of the property, still there, untouched. The natural vegetation is there, which is salal and ferns, and those are protected during this process. And we've worked very hard to make sure that we protected those trees so we didn't take them out. I don't think it's lost on anybody, but I think it's an opportunity for us to pinpoint and illustrate how it can be done. The other point that I would like to make is the walking path that we're putting around the property is kind of a neat feature because it's meant to have you enjoy what's there, and that is that southeast corner. Walk the property, enjoy what we've planted in our new landscaping, and enjoy what's been there. In addition to that, as far as open spaces, we've also added grilling stations for outdoor grilling and picnic areas that are covered. And those are kind of rare opportunities. You don't see that at very many apartment communities either. So those are some features that we put in, and we did that on purpose. But the one feature that I want to explain that I don't think anybody has talked about, although it is on the site plan, to the extent that we have moved a 1969 pan abode, which is a log home made in Renton, Washington. In 1969 was moved and set up in 1970. We moved it from the adjacent property onto this property to preserve it for it has been. And we're going to repurpose it as our office environment and an open area where people can come in and have small meetings. It has a kitchenette, has office environments. We're going to retrofit it so it can have handicapped accessibility, of course. And then we're bringing it up to HVAC standards and impacting the roof with 4 inches of high density foam to give it a better insulated value. And we've done that with the foundation as well. So again, we're trying to preserve things in this environment and illustrate how it can be done. I think it's very important. In addition, we have lots of charging stations, 9 with the opportunity. We also are installing solar on this facility. And those, I think, are part and parcel of the criteria that is part of getting a PRD completed. But we didn't have to do that, but we are doing it. And I think it's a good image for our company. It's a good image for our ownership. And I think it's going to be a very good image for the city of Lacey.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thank you for your comments. All right, let's move on to public comments at this point. And like I say, we may not have any members of the public. If you're out there and want to make a comment at this point, click on the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're in the council chambers, just wave your hand, say you want to say something. Doesn't look like we got any takers. So, Mr. Fan, any concluding comments?
No, or nothing with relation to this exactly, but I guess following back to potential for approval and how we go about that. I believe with the last PRD that the city went through, it did get hearings examiner approval as opposed to recommendation. But yeah, just I wanted to throw that out for, I guess that's what we've done for the last one. I don't know if that changed anything, especially when it comes to case law and all that. But
that helps, yeah.
I just wanted to make note of that, I guess.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No other comments.
Okay, Mr. Powell, you get final word if you wanted to add anything to that. I don't know.
Not much to add. I think that the city has done a good job in helping us illustrate what we wanted to illustrate and help us with this project. We've always had a good working relationship with the city of Lacey, and I think that if this is approved, will be just one more component that gives a little more housing to the city of Lacey, which I believe is pretty desperately needed.
Okay,
I appreciate your time and listening to this case.
all right, thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, I'll go ahead and close the hearing. And yeah, it looks like a really nice addition to the Lacey community. I don't think I should have too much trouble approving it or recommending approval. Like I said, yeah, this is a kind of an issue that is often overlooked. There are a couple, I think there's state Supreme Court cases actually that hold that PRDs that involve increases in density are considered rezones and have to be finally approved by ordinance by the city council. So that might, like I say, if the code doesn't have the flexibility to allow for that process, I'll just throw in the case law, and then Mr. Fett, you can decide on your side whether you still want to throw it up to the council just to be safe, And I mean, if it does end up going to the council, it should be a pretty quick. It could be a consent agenda item, even if it went that far. But beyond that, it looks pretty straightforward, a good project, and meets the criteria. And like I said, I'll be, recommending approval or approving it. So anyway, thanks all for participating today, and we're adjourned for this afternoon. Have a great day.
Awesome.